Welcome to From Betrayal to Breakthrough, and here is a mini dose of Dr. Debbie where I'm sharing tips, suggestions, strategies, and sometimes just motivation to have you move past your betrayal once and for all. Hi there. So someone said to me the other day, I absolutely lost my confidence. And I thought, that's worth a whole show. We really need to talk about that because it's something that if we unpack it, we see how it was shattered and more importantly, what we can do to rebuild it. Confidence is so important. It's so crucial as you're just going about your day, as you're making decisions, as you're working, raising your kids, just whatever we're doing, we need our confidence. And that is absolutely one of the biggest things that gets shattered in a betrayal, because we think we know what we're doing, where we're, who we're with, what's happening. And then of course, without our awareness or consent, someone decides to break those rules and change those rules. And it leaves our confidence completely shattered. And then of course, if it's a relationship betrayal, we take it a step further. We think we're not enough in some way. We're not young enough, thin enough, pretty enough, whatever the enough is. And so it takes our confidence down even further, and even our ability to make decisions, because we thought we knew that person so well. And then we realized, wow, we were blindsided and so duped. So we don't trust in our ability to make decisions. So think about where we're at now. If we thought we had it all together, all figured out, and now we feel we don't even know how this could happen under our nose. Where were we? How did we not see any of this? How did we not know this is coming? And then we're betrayed, and now we don't trust our own ability to make decisions and our own discernment. It leaves us in a really challenging space. So what do you do with that? Well, first of all, you realize even though it happened to you, it's not about you. And how do you regain confidence? I'm going to show you what confidence can look like as you move through the 5 stages from betrayal to breakthrough. But the way I really look at building confidence is this way. There's a challenge, you take it on, you reflect on how it went, and you move from there. And when you do that often enough, that's what helps to grow your confidence, as opposed to there's that challenge, and instead of taking it on, I'm too afraid, so I'm just not going to. And then what's happening is that challenge gets bigger and bigger and bigger because we're not taking it on. So take a look at your life experiences, and I'm sure you'll find there were things in your life that it was a big hurdle, or you didn't know how it was going to go. Maybe it was that job interview. Maybe it was walking up to that person. Maybe it was trying that new thing, whatever it was. And of course, with anything new, it was awkward. It was uncomfortable. You weren't great at it, but you survived. And then based on that, you took it to the next level, and you kept going and going and going. And now you could be brilliant at it, whatever it is. Think about it. The first time we do anything, we're not going to be great at it. But, the example of when you look at like a baby's not great at walking before the baby can walk. So the baby crawls and eventually pulls him or herself up and takes those first few steps, falls down, does it again and again and again, and then and then is able to walk. Well, it's the same thing with us. We are not going to be great the first time we do something, but if we keep going with it over and over and over again, of course, we get better at it. But the confidence comes from taking that thing on and doing it again and again and again, and not saying, oh, this is challenging, this is really hard, you know what, I'm not going to do it. How can we become confident in things if we don't take them on? And there are so many examples of your own life that I really invite you to look at and say, what was it that I wanted to do, but I was too afraid to do because I didn't have the confidence to give that a try? And how has it impacted you, as opposed to those things where there was that opportunity, whatever it was scary, it was unfamiliar, but you said, you know what, let me just muster up whatever it was and do that thing. And now you're good at it, or you did it and it's not as big of an issue. That's how confidence happens. But I see it so clearly as we move through the stages, because confidence is one of those earned things. And as we move from one stage to the next, every bit of it is earned. And I will tell you, people I see within the PBT Institute who are moving through the 5 stages and are in stages 4 and 5, it's all earned. And it's all earned because one of the things they're doing is they're taking all the parts they love about them, if they're kind, if they're a great listener, if whatever it is that they like and love about themselves and want to keep, they're keeping all those things. But whenever any opportunity comes up to challenge an old belief, an old way, prior conditioning, whatever it is, it's an opportunity to say, is this still a fit for me? And if not, I'm going to let it go. You are only bringing with you what serves, what you love, what you want to take with you as you are deliberately and intentionally creating this new version of you. And you're leaving behind everything you've outgrown. For example, if the old you didn't have boundaries in place, well, that's not going to come with you, because the new you is going to have those boundaries in place. If the old you went along with things just to keep the peace, the new you is going to do what's in your best interest, because that doesn't feel good. If the old you never said no and completely exhausted and depleted yourself, this new you that you're building and creating has to do things a little differently. So when I talk about it, you've heard me say, it's this one saying that in my 32 plus years of business, I have said this to thousands of clients. It applies to just about any topic. Hard now, easy later. Easy now, hard later. Take your pick. It's going to be one of those two. And what I mean is hard now, because you are taking on every thought that comes in your mind, every belief you have, and challenging all of them. Does this still make sense for me as I'm creating this new version of me, or have I outgrown it? Has it run its course and it's time to let it go? Yes, no, and we're taking all of that on. That's hard work, because thinking is hard. Making new decisions is hard. Changing can be hard. So in assessing and addressing all of this, it gives us this opportunity to really challenge ourselves and everything that about who we were before this happened. So let's say we're deliberately and intentionally creating new versions of ourselves. And let's talk about how I mentioned before, boundaries. This would be where confidence is being built, because the old you maybe didn't have boundaries in place. And let's say the new you realizes this and says, I don't want to do that anymore. That doesn't work for me. You know what? I don't, whatever the boundary is, maybe you want to just honor an earlier bedtime. I mean, something just small, right? Like, I just want to honor an earlier bedtime. And then you're trying to, let's say you're rebuilding with your partner and your partner wants to stay up late at night, whatever. I'm just making up a silly example. In honoring your boundary, this new version of you would say, whatever you want to talk about, we're going to need to talk about that in the morning. I need to get my sleep, whatever it is, whatever words make sense for you. Now think about it. The first time you say that, you may be thinking, oh, I don't know if I could say that. That's really uncomfortable. It's awkward. I never did that before. It's really unfamiliar. And you're going through all of that. Here's where change happens. The old you maybe wouldn't have said the words out loud. Maybe he didn't even recognize you needed that boundary in place. This new you that you're building, that you're forming, says, well, that's who I want to be. I need and I want that quality sleep time. I'm going to make sure I allow for it. And I'm not going to have anything that I can, that is within my control, disrupt that. So you recognize it. You're now creating a plan for it. So I'm going to make sure I'm in bed by whatever time. And now here's that opportunity. You're confronted right here with, here's the challenge. Do you just appease this person and neglect what you said you wanted to do for yourself? Or do you institute this new boundary. This is the moment of truth right here. And this is where confidence is built. Because even though it's scary, even though it's unfamiliar, even though you've never said these words before, all of a sudden you say, in the words that completely resonate with you about this new boundary you have, you may be sweating, you may be completely uncomfortable, but you say it. And then think about it. You may get that little weird response or awkward silence or whatever, because you were expected, let's say, to have a different response. You never said this before. You never did this before. But here's where the confidence grows, because right now you've said it. The other person has heard it. The relationship dynamic is changing right here, because now you have your new boundary that you're putting in place. You go to sleep, you wake up the next day, you reflect on it. It's still uncomfortable. It may still feel awkward, but you survived it. And now you say, wow, how did that go? That kind of went okay. And it gives you the incentive to try it again. So now another situation comes up. Maybe let's say you're asked to do something at work. And let's say you work in a company and let's say you have a boss, and your boss just expects you to do all this extra work that normally, because you don't know how to say no, you do. I'm just making up these examples, but let's go with it. And so now, because you just tried out that boundary the night before, here's this opportunity to try it out again. It is awkward. It is uncomfortable, but you're reflecting on what you did just yesterday, saying, well, I did that. It was awkward. It was uncomfortable, but I am changing the rules. And I survived it. I lived to tell. And what would happen if I did that again? So you come up with a way to let your boss know, I will absolutely get these things done. I'm unable to do it now, but I will have it done by, tomorrow, end of day, whatever it is. And you say it, and there may be that awkward silence or that moment of, wait a second, he or she always did that in the past. What's this about? Right? So there's all that sort of weirdness and discomfort. And then let's say your boss says, okay, no problem. And now you reflect on it. Again, you may be sweating. You may have been panicking saying the words, but you did it. It's over. And you're like, wow, okay, here we go. And this is exactly how confidence happens. Here's this uncomfortable moment, this uncomfortable opportunity. You do it, you reflect on it, you make changes. Next time I'll do this. Next time I'll say that. Next time I won't do this. Next time I won't do that. And you keep going and going and going. So we use that example with boundaries, but you can really apply it to anything. Like, for example, let's say there's an opportunity to do something that you wanted to do. Or take a class, let's just say. And in the past, you always made excuses. Oh, I'm not going to know anybody. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be unfamiliar. I don't know, but whatever. And you talk yourself out of it. This new version of you, this stage 5 version of you that hopefully you're all working towards, looks and says, and you say to yourself, what would the stage 5 version of me do? Would he or she do that? And if the answer is yes, then you say, okay, you know what? What would it take for me to join that class or do that thing? And I'm not saying it's not going to be awkward and uncomfortable and unfamiliar and all of these things, because it will be. You know why? Because it's new. If you're never feeling any discomfort, you got to know it's because you're not doing anything new. Every single thing you've known and you've done has gotten you right here. So when it comes to doing something new, becoming someone new, it's going to take something different than what you're currently doing. So let's just take, I don't know, some class that you were thinking of enrolling in and you love the idea of it, but it was scary and unfamiliar and you didn't know who was going to be there and you didn't know if you were going to like it or whatever. And you say, okay, you know what? I'm so done with all my reasons and all my stuff. I'm creating this new version of me. And you go ahead and you enroll in that class. And it's the first night of class and you go take it and you survive and you live to tell. And you reflect on it. You're like, go me. Look at that. I didn't know. In the past, I didn't do that. In the past, I didn't have the confidence to do that. But now, as I'm rebuilding this new version of me from the ground up, This version of me wants to try new things. This version of me wants to meet new people or experience something new. And I can only do that if I'm willing to do something different. And, and here you reflect on that class and what you learned and who you met and all these things. And you give yourself it's this sense of satisfaction and pride because it's earned. It's earned because you were willing to do something different. And when you do something different, you become someone different. This isn't about recreating the old. This is about taking everything that you want and that you loved from the old and building onto it all that's new, all about who you want to become. So I want to make sure I cover this because I talked about it. As you move through the stages, confidence just happens because of this deliberate and intentional rebuilding. So let's say you're in stage 2, shock trauma, D-Day, discovery day, you're just trying to find some solid ground and you're trying to just survive, your experience. And there's the confidence you may have may just be in, I can survive. Period. I didn't know I can survive the pain of this, but I'm able to survive that. And you have confidence because you've been able to survive something you never saw coming that has shocked you like you've never experienced a shock like this before. And that's beautiful because go you, that you can survive something so painful. You move into stage 3. This is where we stay stuck. This is where I was just on a call with someone who said they were in stage 3 for 20 years. This is so common. But when you're in stage 3, you've survived your experience and you've kind of made a life just around surviving your experience. You're not healed. You've survived, you get through your day, but this is not living with a freedom of feeling good. This is not where you're even feeling good in your own skin. This is where there's like a backpack of pain that you're lugging around with you all day. There's this cloud over you, this unhealed, unresolved trauma that we're just walking around with and carrying with us. We don't feel our best. It's not that the relationship has really changed much. There really haven't been many changes except time. And I did the study and have the proof. You cannot count on time to heal betrayal. It will not. Because you can stay in stage 3 for decades, if not, your entire life. So you can't count on time. So here you are, in stage 3. How do you gain confidence in stage 3? Well, it takes doing something differently, questioning your current beliefs. And the confidence could come from just even moving through the idea of, maybe it wasn't, because maybe you've convinced yourself it was about you. Maybe it wasn't about me. And the confidence in finally believing that it wasn't about you. Or maybe the confidence to be willing to, let's say, regain your health, because maybe your health plummeted which is so common, because of the chronic unmanaged stress. And maybe the confidence of, okay, you know what, I'm going to take a first step and just really work on my health. Or maybe whatever positive measures you've taken to move towards the next stage. Give yourself a lot of credit for that. But when you do these things, that's how you start regaining your confidence. Maybe you whatever it is that you've taken on to get you out of this stuck space, doing something new, doing something different is great. And that's how confidence can be rebuilt from a stage 3 place. So let's say now you're in stage 4, and stage 4, you may have heard me say stage 4 is my absolute favorite stage, absolute favorite, because here's where you start to realize, wait a second, even though it happened to me, it's not about me. I cannot control what happened, but I control what I do with it. And all of a sudden, there's this personal empowerment that starts to happen. And to truly be in stage 4, what you're doing so much of is, what do I want now? Who do I want to be? What do I want to do? What do I need? It may be the first time in your whole life you've been considering your own needs and what you need. And here's where you may, like how I used that example before, take that class, do that thing, have that conversation. But you're looking at things from a stage 4 lens of what do I need now based on who I want to become. And you do those things, and it gives you an additional level of confidence because you're saying, wow, you know what, go me. I never did stuff like that. I never said stuff like that. I never said no to things. I never had boundaries in place. This is scary stuff because it's new and unfamiliar, but I'm doing it, and wow, it's working. And as we keep doing things like that, then we slowly move into stage 5, where we are the lived example of someone who is putting these new boundaries in place, who is saying no. Let's say you didn't say no in the past and you are now. You are doing all these things, and now we build on it, because when you're in stage 5, you have access to things that your stage 2, 3, or stage 4 version didn't have access to. Like, for example, the PBT Institute, that was a stage 5 thing. I didn't have access to ideas like that when I was in stage 3. Our certification programs, our my books, my TEDx talks, all these things, even PBT Corporate, our newest initiative to bring the PBT Institute to corporations. So companies can really help their people by moving them through the stages. I didn't have access to those things in stages 2 and 3 and even stage 4. So how does confidence get built when you're in stage 5? Like, for example, our newest initiative, PBT Corporate, this was a completely new and unfamiliar, uncharted territory for me personally. And so, as with anything new, I didn't know what I was doing as far as these, going into these companies, but I saw a need. We had so many members coming into the PBT Institute from this company and from that company and from that company. And it struck me like a lightning bolt to my head. Wait a second. If all these people from separate companies are coming in to truly heal from betrayal, what would happen if we helped the entire company? What would that do for their productivity and morale and bottom line and all of that? So now in a stage 5 position, but still with something entirely new, confidence, and I'm using myself as an example here, confidence is being built by having these new conversations that I never had before, doing something completely new with the PBT Institute that I never did before. You see, so it's not that once you're in stage 5, you don't constantly do things to grow your confidence even further. The opportunities are different. You have insight and access to ideas you didn't have beforehand. But when you're in that place, you're always growing. You're always growing. You're either growing or dying. So you're always growing. So as you're growing, what opportunities are showing up for you now? What are you ready for that the old version of you never saw coming? Now, here's the thing. It's not going to be all of a sudden familiar like everything else in your past. If you didn't do it beforehand and you did it, it wasn't familiar, it became familiar. So if you look at it from a place of that's scary and now it's not scary, same kind of thing. And as you grow, it's just different. And as you're in stage 5, it's just different. But the confidence comes from having that awareness, doing something with it, looking back and saying, how did that go? Could I have done that better, differently, in any which way? And you take that knowledge and you take it a step further and a step further and a step further and a step further. So just to sort of wrap this up, when it comes to confidence, it is absolutely shattered through betrayal. But not only can it be rebuilt, it can be, just like everything else, rebuilt better than it was before. Because the version of you who is just sort of coasting may not have you may have been confident, maybe you weren't, but now with everything else, it's deliberate, it's intentional. You are really building a version of yourself that never would have had the opportunity to be created had that experience not happened. And as you hear me say all the time, that's trauma well served. You've been through the worst of it already. You owe it to yourself to move through the 5 stages from betrayal to breakthrough and create that stage 5 version of you who is healed, whole, healthy, confident, empowered, strong, in whichever way that means to you. So if you're not feeling confident, then you want to look and say, have I been seeing these opportunities and running away from them? Because that's old and that's familiar. Time for some changes. You have to do something different in order to have something different. And maybe it's time to take a look and say, all those things that I may be envious of other people doing, maybe that's my signal letting me know I can do it too. I just wasn't ready. And it's not to say you need to take these giant steps. Some people dip their toe in to get into the pool and slowly warm themselves up. Some people jump into the deep end. There's no right or wrong, but the idea is taking a look and saying, as I move through the stages, that version of me, what is he or she doing? What is he or she feeling? Because in order for them to be living in that way, they had to do it somehow. They had to start somehow. And maybe it starts with your boundaries. Maybe it starts with saying no. Maybe it starts with saying yes. Maybe it starts with just taking on that new opportunity or that new conversation, whatever it is. But I invite you to choose, just even start with one thing. What's one thing you're going to do to grow your confidence and to start increasing your confidence? Are you going to wear something different? Are you going to say something different? Are you going to do something different? It has to be different to get the mind thinking, oh, here, she's not playing. We're really doing something different. And that's exactly how we start rebuilding confidence, just like everything else, from the ground up. So I hope this helps. And I want to hear from you. What are you doing to start rebuilding your confidence after betrayal? Hope this helps. Be sure to check out the PBT Institute for anything we have there that can serve you. And I'll see you next time. You need the right tools, support, and the right community to move through the 5 stages from betrayal to breakthrough. And we have all that within the PBT Institute. So join us at the PBT, as in post-betrayal transformation, thepbtinstitute.com. There's a version of you who's so confident, healthy, peaceful, and happy on the other end of your healing. And we can't wait to help you get there. We got you. Thanks for listening. And here's to your breakthrough.